In this video, I'm going to walk you through how you can configure pruning on your Qt Core wallet so that you can save some storage space. If you're like me, you may be mining to a bunch of different altcoin Qt Core wallets, and each of those by default holds the entire blockchain history. And that can, if you're running these on VMs or like a mini PC or anything like that, that can really start to use a lot of storage capacity, especially if you're running them all on the same VM. And so as you're adding more and more core wallets, eventually you might get into a position where it's using a lot of data. And for me, these core wallets aren't really connected to the outside world all the time. And so these aren't nodes that I'm using for other people to sync from. These are really just for me to transact within my own wallet. So what we're going to do today is we're going to configure pruning. Now what pruning does is it will only retain the last so many blocks up to the point that you tell it how many gigabytes of storage you want it to use. So on something like Bitcoin, that may mean you're only storing, the last 50 to 100 blocks. On some smaller chains, you might still be storing several thousand blocks, but you're not storing the whole chain. And so that will lead to a lot less storage requirements. So for this video, I'm going to be using Vertcoin. And if we pull up the folder that has the Vertcoin blockchain in it, it's going to be the Vertcoin folder. And we take a look at the blocks folder. We can see it's currently using 7.38 gigabytes. So it's not astronomical, but that is a little bit just for one wallet. So we're going to go ahead and attempt to bring this number down. So to do that, we're going to head over to the wallet. We're going to hit the help menu, and we want to view the command line options. Not every blockchain supports pruning, so this is something to keep in mind. However, if we do scroll down on the wallet, what we should see is there's an option for pruning, and it should give you kind of some information with this. And basically it tells you everything I just told you, that it'll delete specific blocks. They're not deleted from the blockchain, they're just deleted from your local instance so that you're not storing everything that you need to. And by default, pruning's turned off. And you have two options for turning it on. You can do a value of 1, which means you can only call it through the wallet API to basically tell it when to prune. That's a little bit more complicated. We're not going to do that today. What we're going to do is this part. So if you set it to any number greater than or equal to 550, that is going to be the target blockchain size it's going to store on disk. So if you do 550, that's going to do 550 megabytes on disk. And so we're going to be targeting, we're going to do 1000 today. And so that'll be 1 gigabyte is what the blockchain target will be. So to do this, there's a couple ways you can do this. Some wallets allow you to go to settings options, and right here they have a checkbox, and you can configure that right in here. But I like to do it through the config file. So to do that, I'm going to do settings options. I'm going to say open configuration file. Then we're going to say continue. Okay, and I already have some details in here, but we're just going to add another line. If it's empty, you might only have one line. We're just going to say prune equals, and we're going to put in that number in megabytes that we want it to retain. So I'm going to do 1000. We're just going to save this. And then we hit OK here. We're going to close the wallet. And then we're going to reopen the wallet. Just going to open my wallet. We're going to open Vertcoin again. It's going to load up the block index. And now you can see it's starting to prune the block store. So if we check this, we're still at 7.38. But we should start to see this go down somewhat. So we're just going to let this sit for a couple minutes, and we should start to see it purge some of these files out. And you can see that it actually removed the first 41 files. So we got a lot lower files in here now. And if we come back up, we were at 7.38 gigs. We're now at 1.54. And the way this works is we have the 1 gigabyte, and then there is also a 500 megabyte buffer. And so if we go settings options, it's actually 450. So the database cache is 450. So that's going to be on top of the target amount. So we're right at 1.5 gigs, which is what we expected. And so now, from an ongoing basis, it will auto purge the old files as new blocks come in to maintain that kind of 1 gigabyte size. So that's really all there is to enable pruning. Now, I did this on Vertcoin. If we did this on something like Pigeon Coin, we will be able to save a lot more storage. So if we take a look at the Pigeon Coin blockchain, you can see that folder. That's actually the full folder. Let me go into the blocks folder. You can see that's 47 gigabytes. So we're going to be able to take that down a lot by enabling pruning on that one as well. And I do want to reiterate that when you do this, you're no longer storing the full ledger on your system. You're only storing the most recent blocks. And so keep that in mind. It's okay if it's just for a wallet that you're just using to transact with, things like that. But what it does mean is if you're trying to use it as a node that is providing the ledger to the blockchain, nobody's going to connect to you to download the ledger unless they're all the way up to the most recent blocks already. So if somebody spun up a brand new wallet on Vertcoin, started syncing down the blockchain, even if you did this on your own network on a different machine, you wouldn't be able to sync from this until you hit that oldest block that you're retaining, and then it'll start syncing from there. It will continue to sync from everybody else on the blockchain, just not this node that you're running. So if you are trying to support a network, provide, kind of that speed and availability of the ledger, make sure you do not enable pruning. However, if you're just doing this kind of as you're holding wallets or, like we have here where we're just mining to these wallets, it's definitely a good option if you're trying to save some storage to go ahead and enable pruning on all of the wallets that support it.